Comrade Gertrude, what is sexual harassment in the workplace?
Sexual harassment in the workplace, maybe for me to start with explaining what is sexual harassment as sexual harassment before going into the workplace itself. Sexual harassment, it's these behaviors that are unwelcome to yourself as a worker. It goes to an extent that you know, sometimes it comes as a joke on sexual behaviors, but sometimes it goes beyond the jokes. You can see when a person that it's sexually harassing you by the look, by the touch, because sometimes there are those touching that they make you feel uncomfortable. There are those statements that will make you feel uncomfortable as a worker. But usually at the workplace, then it happens between the two people, the colleagues. Usually a person that you work with, but it's not that it happens only in the workplace. It can happen outside the workplace, but the person being your colleague. So that is why we call it a sexual harassment in the workplace.
And then can you give us examples of scenarios that would constitute sexual harassment?
Other scenarios, it's unwelcome sexual jokes, like I've said, the touching. The other scenarios, it's usually people, when they cover it, they tell you that it's culture that will praise you as a female, or a female praise a man. Because sometimes it happens between the two sexes. We usually look at it like it happens in one sex or one gender, but it always, sometimes it's happening in both sexes. It's not that it's female that get being harassed. Even males, they do get harassed. The challenge is that it's not usually happening for males to go report sexual harassment, because they usually laugh amongst each other, and because of the patriarchal systems and the social behavior, and because of the community that want us, usually want men not to express their uncomfortable situations. So the issue of joke, the gestures, the touching, and it's very difficult, it's so hidden. Actually, I usually, when I want to explain sexual harassment to people, say, it's not exactly what the person has said, it's how you have received it. Because sometimes a male colleague can say such sexual jokes to yourself, but if you are cool with it, it's totally not a sexual harassment because you don't see it. But as soon as you realize and say no, but this behavior of yours, it makes me uncomfortable. So that's when then sexual harassment starts. But if your colleague does it to you, you are comfortable, you don't see it as something that makes you uncomfortable, it's still within, not in the sexual harassment context.
I hear you. And then tell us, what does the labor law say about sexual harassment in the workplace?
We've got different labor laws that covers workers in the workplace. Actually, maybe to start with, in the country, we've got a very unique constitution as a country that cover everybody, equal rights for every worker, equal rights for every citizen. But in the laws that exactly covers the sexual harassment, we've got Code of Good Practice on handling the sexual harassment cases in the workplace. So that laws, it ensures that the workplace does have sexual harassment policies. So and the law ensures that sexual harassment is prohibited in the workplace. So we've got that Code of Good Practice that we usually use for sexual harassment cases.
So you're saying that the South African labor law compels all employers and workplaces to have a sexual harassment policy?
Exactly. That's the Code of Good Practice on Sexual Harassment. It compels. But remember, we're the country that does have lots of legislations. The issue is about enforcing those legislation to happen within the workplaces. So the laws we have, the South African Constitution, we have Employment Equity Act also that covers. We have also the PEPUDA, which is the law that protects and promotes discrimination within the workplace. So those are South African labor legislations that protects workers on the issues of sexual harassment.
And what happens in a case where a worker is being sexually harassed? What steps can they take against that harassment, and are they guaranteed confidentiality?
Confidentiality is key. It's very key. But there are two steps that a worker can go through it when that worker feels that he or she has been sexually harassed. The other step is about approaching it informally. The worker can be just exactly go to the person, the perpetrator, and say, that's informal. And just to say, please stop. What you continuously saying to me, I seriously don't. So it's about yourself approaching the victim, approaching the perpetrator. But also, it becomes difficult to approach somebody on those issues because sexual harassment is a very sensitive issue. So the worker also have got a right to appoint somebody in a work situation. We've got shop shorts committees, so the worker can be able to approach the shop short committee to say, please, or approach any person that you feel comfortable to talk to. But there are also formal steps that a worker can go through, lodge a formal grievance, and ensure and write to the employer to say, this is what I'm not comfortable about, and ask assistance from the shop short committee.
Now, oftentimes you find that victims of sexual harassment, they can get victimized for reporting the act. Now, in a case like that, how does the law protect them, and what can they do to ensure that they are not victimized, or rather, what can the employer do?
Exactly. For employer, it's very key to ensure that there are policies within the workplace and the environment is conducive enough for workers to be able to state their case on sexual harassment. The worker, I think that the worker can be, if that worker feels that is being victimized, because sometimes the victimization comes also from the employer, because sexual harassment happens within that workplace, and most of the time it's senior employers that will sexually harass their junior staff. So the perpetrator, not the perpetrator, the victim, if that person thinks that now I am secondary victimized, that worker have got a right to go outside if he or she feels that the internal procedures have not been, instead they are victimizing. We've got institutions besides the law, but we've got institutions that assist workers on the issues of sexual harassment. We've got institutions like CCMA. The worker have got the right to take that outside process, but also we've got institutions like Commission for Gender Equality that assist, and those institutions like Commission for Gender Equality, they are great because they don't only assist the worker on handling the cases only, they also walk the walk with the survivor, usually like to call them survivors, not victims, because we think that they are survivors. So institutions like Commission for Gender Equality, they are able to give you counseling also, and make sure that whilst you are approaching that case, and they also assist with legal financial assistance.
Now, we know that tomorrow is the start of 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. Can you tell us what the significance of these days is?
16 days of activism against gender-based violence. It's a campaign, a well-respected and international campaign. It has started in 1985 by the United Nations, when the United Nations was busy with the Millennium Development Goals. So 16 Days of Activism was one of its campaign. But it came in South Africa in 1985, where the South African government also endorsed the campaign. Then as trade unions, and because we have got a responsibility to ensure that we implement the 16 Days of Activism against gender-based violence, we have programs through our structures, through our unions, programs through our provinces. Like at this point, we've got one of our provinces, Limpopo, that is going to support the survivors, because they are appearing in court. 16 days starting on the 25th of November, it ends on the 10th of November. So in between those 16 days, there are other days that we commemorate, like 1st of December. So we include those days, World AIDS Day, we include the 3rd December, which is the day of the International Day of the Disability. So that's also comprised of the 16 days. But then within that 16 days, as a federation, we will be celebrating, commemorating it through our provinces. Like I've said, the Limpopo will be supporting one of the survivors. We've got also the Western Cape, which is going to do a night vigil on the 29th of November in Parliament. And for them, it's another scenario, because they say they want the government to speed up the issue of maintenance. They also think that the maintenance issue also, it perpetrates the gender-based violence within the families.
I'm assuming that the rest of the program details will be available on the Cosatu website.
Yes, they will. We have already issued it to our communication spokesperson. The statement on the 16 Days of Activism, which explained in detail, and the program, detailed program.